Well, last night it was the big return of Jimmy Kimmel, and well, he talked about what got him off the air, took him off the air for a week. He didn't apologize. He continued to lie. He doubled down on deceit, and then he had some crocodile tears. And I guess we're all supposed to just hold hands now and give him a big hug and forgive him. Not so fast. We'll show you what he had to say, and we'll break down all the lies that he threw out there coming up in a quick second. First, though, the evening began with Jake Tapper. Well, it's funny. It didn't begin because technically Jake Tapper on Seth Meyers was on the air later in the night. His show's on at 12:30 because he's doing great, that Seth Meyers. But this was taped earlier in the day, as all these shows are. And this clip was put out ahead of Jimmy Kimmel's statement show. Let me tell you what Jake Tapper had to say about a stand-up comedian being taken off the air because he lied to his audience and was insensitive and despicable to a grieving family, a grieving widow, and, well, millions of grieving Americans.
All right, Jimmy Kimmel, he's a friend of both of ours.
Yeah.
You know him, I know him. We know he's a good person. Obviously, this news is very exciting. But what was your original take on how this all went down starting last week?
I mean, I thought it was pretty much the most direct infringement by the government on free speech that I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You have Networks are allowed to cancel shows. It happens all the time. But this was the FCC chairman saying, local affiliates, it's time for you to say you're not going to air Kimmel anymore. And then Nexstar, which with the largest owner of local affiliates, needs approval from Brendan Carr himself to let this merger go through. Yes, sir. How high do you want me to jump, sir? They do it, and it's just insane.
Yeah,
it's just insane.
It is I mean, I'm certainly, we don't know the details as we're talking about, you know, if any sort of agreement was reached or if ABC just is sort of like, you know, there was an error in judgment. But I sort of look forward to seeing, obviously, how Jimmy responds. That'll be the most interesting piece of this.
Yeah, and well, look, I don't know why Disney and Bob Iger ultimately made the right decision and stood for free speech. They didn't initially, and that would have been the second example, because we all saw what happened with our friend Stephen Colbert and Sherry Redstone and Paramount with a different merger and a different pressure point that the government has. And we'll see what happens when they come for Comcast, and they'll see what happens when they come for Warner Brothers Discovery, and maybe you and I will be drawing comic books.
I'm worried about you.
Yeah, but you'll be putting a tinfoil hat on while you do it, because all of those things that he said is speculation. There is no evidence to suggest that any of those things, whether it was Stephen Colbert or the $30 million settlement that CBS entered with 60 Minutes with Trump for lying about him and deceptively editing the interview with Kamala Harris, or the $16 million settlement that ABC Disney settled with Donald Trump over the lies and defamation that George Stephanopoulos engaged in. All of those things, including the Kimmel speculation that he just put out there, all of those things were said without evidence. There is no proof that there is any connection with those big mergers and wanting the FCC to be kind to them and grant their mergers. But just for a second and stipulate that that might be true, so what? They're in business. That's what businessmen do sometimes. I remember during the Obama administration when I would want to watch 30 Rock and must-see TV on Thursday nights on NBC. And there was one night during Earth Week, whatever the hell that is, where the storylines of all of the sitcoms on NBC were written to focus on climate change and global warming, because the Obama administration applied pressure to GE, the corporate owner of NBC at the time, to do that. And by the way, that was in Jake Tapper's lifetime as well. But now Jake Tapper is really concerned about the government leaning on people and infringing on First Amendment rights and getting involved and meddling in content. Unbelievable. Well, let's go to Jimmy Kimmel and find out specifically exactly what he said last night when he returned. I will be interrupting this clip so that we can call out all of the bullshit.
I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because...
Can I just pause there for a second? If he doesn't think that his platform or his voice or his content on his show is going to in any way change anybody's mind, then why the hell does he do this? Why for the last 10 years has he devoted every single episode of his comedy show to lecturing people about politics if he doesn't think it's going to make a difference? That's pathetic. That's sad. And it's also a lie. Of course he thinks he's changing minds. That's why he does it. That's why I do this. I'm hoping that I can help you, inform you. Maybe if you disagree with me, you might at the very least see my perspective and those perspectives of all of the people in your life who disagree with you politically. So he sets this whole thing up and creates a preface of it. The entire foundation of it is built on bullshit. Wow, so self-deprecating, so humble. I don't think that anything I'm going to say is changing anybody's minds. Of course he thinks he's changing minds. Otherwise, why talk about politics every single night? Like there's nothing else that you can find that's humorous in the world? Give me a break.
It's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't...
All right. So his voice breaks there, and we're told that it's genuine emotion because he is so upset and so sad about this, which is funny because a week ago when he set up a joke about Donald Trump and apparently Donald Trump's lack of empathy in mourning Charlie Kirk's death, he literally used Charlie Kirk's death and the reaction to his death as the foundation for the joke he told about Donald Trump. So when he says that I never intended to make light of the murder of a young man, he literally used that young man's murder as the setup for what we're told was a joke. So by definition, he did intend to make light of the murder of that young man. Also, last week, when he was telling his so-called joke about Trump and he used Charlie Kirk's murder as the setup for it, did you notice his voice didn't break up with emotion then? Only now. I have no doubt that Jimmy Kimmel has regret, but it has nothing to do with what he said, and it has nothing to do with the death of Charlie Kirk. Jimmy Kimmel's regret is that he almost lost his multi-million-dollar gig. That's why he got emotional, in my opinion. But let's let him finish.
I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it.
He put something on his Instagram. Hey, I put something on my Instagram when he was killed. What more do you want from me? I don't know. Maybe when you get on your network platform and do a stand-up routine, you not make light of it. Well, so as long as you say something on your Instagram a couple of days ago, that gives you like a free reign to say whatever the hell you want, no matter how offensive. Hey, what do you want from me? I said something on my Instagram. Everything about this is phony and fraudulent, and what you're about to hear from him is obviously scripted, not by the comedy writers in his writer's room, but by the PR experts in the legal department. Listen.
Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make. But I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way.
All right, now real fast there, because what you didn't, it was a perfect opportunity. For those of you who thought that I was insensitive or that it was ill-timed or that in some way I was blaming one group or another, for those of you who believe that, I am sorry. That's what he could have said, but he didn't. Instead, he said, I get it. I understand why you believe that. It's pathetic. By the way, let me roll it back real fast. I should have stopped it when he said it.
I felt either ill-timed or...
Hang on here.
Any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual.
Yeah, number one, he literally specifically delivered false information that implicated one specific group, and specifically the MAGA crowd, as he puts it. He said the MAGA crowd is doing whatever they can to assign blame for this murderer to any group other than their own, which suggests it was one of their own. That's literally what he did. He also just called him a disturbed individual. Excuse me, Jimmy, why are you using your platform to reinforce some potential insanity defense that this murderer might use? Why are you trying to taint the jury and tell the jury pool that he's insane? Because that's a legal defense. So when you call him disturbed, you're actually helping the murderer. Why don't you take those words out of your mouth, pal?
That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make. But I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed.
He did it again. That's a sick person. That's what it is. He's just sick. Tainting the jury pool, already lending credibility to the defense if this person pleads guilty or not guilty by insanity. But boy, did you see what he did there? I don't think this person belongs to any group. That's convenient now that it's widely known, even by Jimmy Kimmel in his writer's room, apparently, that this guy was from the left and motivated by left-wing politics and ideology. You see, when it's somebody who can be linked to conservatives or MAGA or Trump or to gun rights or pro-life interests, then that murderer, that school shooter, that individual, first of all, isn't sick, isn't crazy, isn't insane. That person's evil. And that person absolutely represents you and me and your parish priest and anyone else who agrees with those causes. Every single time. Every single time. The one school shooter who may have registered as a Republican is indicative of all Republicans. But this guy now, I don't think he represents anybody. He's just sick. He doesn't represent anyone. You buying this? Do you accept his non-apology because he never said he was sorry and he hasn't asked you for an apology?
Believe violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever. And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers, because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me because, and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
Yeah, by the way, that really loud cheer that you just heard, I've been at these shows before. I just want you to listen to this really loud cheer. It sounds like it's right next to the microphone. Listen to it.
In a country that allows us to have a show like this.
That one, yeah, that's the producer of the show. They stand right by the camera, right by the cue cards. They use cue cards, by the way. We go without a script, no teleprompter, no nothing. Yeah, this show isn't important. Well, you got that part right. All right, a little bit more from Jimmy Kimmel last night.
Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow. If you believe in the teachings of Jesus as I do, there it was. That's it. A selfless act of grace, forgiveness from a grieving widow. It touched me deeply. And I hope it touches many. And if there's anything we should take from this tragedy to carry forward, I hope it can be that. and not this. So thank you for listening, and I'll have more to say when we come back.
I don't speak for Erica Kirk. Only Erica Kirk speaks for Erica Kirk. But I think it would have been best to leave her out of this, Jimmy. It's funny, since you invoked Jesus Christ and the Christian forgiveness that Erica has displayed so incredibly and magnanimously and graciously and amazingly, and you're right to point that out. She framed it within the words of our Lord when he said, "Forgive them, they don't know what they're doing." I think you knew what you were doing. I think you knew very well what you were doing. Also, as you now profess to be a Christian, I'm not sure what flavor you are, but as a Catholic Christian, when we ask for forgiveness, we actually ask for forgiveness. And we acknowledge our sin. If you were trying to suggest that Erica Kirk's Christian grace that she displayed to her husband's murderer is something that now should be applied to you, a huge step forward would be you, like the thief on the cross, asking for it. Now, as I said, I don't speak for Erica, and I certainly don't speak for Turning Point USA or for Charlie Kirk or his show, but this guy does. Andrew Clovet was the producer of Charlie Kirk's podcast and is one of the executives at Turning Point USA, and his reaction was this: "Not good enough, Jimmy. It's simple. Here's what you need to say. I'm sorry for saying the shooter was MAGA. He was not. He was of the left. I apologize to the Kirk family for lying. Please accept my sincere apology. I will do better. I was wrong." He didn't do that. He didn't do any of that. By the way, Sinclair, one of the station groups who still refuses to run Jimmy Kimmel's show, including last night, has said that until he does just that, and by the way, makes a personal donation to Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA, he will not return to those stations. And those are the ABC stations that are on in some of the major markets of this country, including Washington, D.C., my market. Nexstar, the other big syndicator station ownership group that runs Jimmy Kimmel's show on their stations, they have also said that they will not air his show. So all this might be for nothing, honestly. Sure, ABC puts him back on the air and they get credit from all the Hollywood wackos who said they weren't going to do Disney movies, which is a joke. And yet he's not actually seen by anyone. And eventually his contract will be up because there's no revenue if you're not on those stations in those cities. Andrew Clovet, by the way, followed up this morning on that post that he put out last night and said, yes, Jimmy got emotional. So what? He's emotional for himself because he almost torched his entire career. Exactly. Kimmel is an unrepentant liar who tried to blame Charlie's assassination on the part of the country that just spent the last 2 weeks praying and holding vigils. What he's really saying is that he still thinks it's fair game to slander conservatives. He would rather advance his own political and cultural agenda than confront the truth. The truth is that his own side has been fanning the flames of political assassinations for years. The truth is that someone on the left picked up a gun and murdered someone on the right who advocated for peaceful debate. It's critical that liars admit they lied. There can be no restoration without that. Anything short of that is a fake and scripted cry line designed to endear him to his fans, not to make right the wrong he committed. I just realized that I had not yet retweeted that. Good for you, Andrew. You got to see it in real time. Meanwhile, yesterday, a new star was born on CNN in terms of conservative commentators because nobody has gotten it spot on like former Congressman Pete Meyer, Republican, formerly of the House of Representatives. He spoke about this Kimmel situation on CNN, and what he said goes 10 times for me.
I mean, I'm really trying to plumb the depths of my profound indifference for Jimmy Kimmel's career here. But your point on the echo chambers, that's very real. And this was what got Jimmy Kimmel in this problem in the first place. He was reiterating a lie, and it is a lie, that the assassin of Charlie Kirk was motivated by right of center beliefs. 1 in 3 Democrats believe that.
I don't know if
according
that's
to-
actually what he was saying.
No, that's
I
not-
don't think that's what he
He
was
said
saying.
that's not what he was saying, that they were trying to score political points.
But by saying it was anyone other than what it was. And again, if that was occurring in a vacuum, if you didn't have Democratic elected officials repeating that same lie, if you didn't have 1 in 3 Democrats believing that same lie, I do not think this would have that salience. And that is the problem with the echo chambers, is all of a sudden you find anything to blame everybody outside of your network. Right? I do not remember the last time on any of the broadcast late night shows there was a Republican elected representative.
That's right. That's kind of relevant too, isn't it? Now that was what day is today? That was Monday afternoon. Yesterday they brought Meyer back because CNN did this weird like countdown to Kimmel. It was like, oh my gosh, we're just hours away from the return of Jimmy Kimmel. Insanity, and they don't have anything else to talk about over there. So Meyer came back and he hit it out of the park again.
To be able to speak your mind without retribution from the government. This is a government that is controlling law firms, media companies, educational institutions, and silencing opposition at the end of the day. And it's because of the money on the table from Nexstar, their billion-dollar merger, and that Disney lost their $4 billion in market cap that is causing all of this action. They're afraid of the government. Is exactly what Donald Trump does.
Who was silenced? Nobody's silenced. We're not.
Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air. You have universities afraid to speak their mind. You have research being completely
we talk
defunded.
about the blue and the red division. Every single one of the reasons why the FCC has a role is because these are broadcast stations with a monopoly that was granted by the government.
Do you feel good about
that? No,
Do you feel
and
good
I
about
would
media?
hate it if the federal government came in and said, you may not say that. The reason why Jimmy Kimmel got himself into the first place is he was repeating a lie believed by 1 in 3 Democrats that the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk
He did not
had
say that.
right of center beliefs.
He did not say that.
We can parse his verbiage all day long. If he comes out and says, listen, that was not what I was trying to say, thank you. Fantastic. I appreciate that, Mr. Kimmel. The problem is that is believed. And
So-
we have spent way more time treating Jimmy Kimmel as a victim than the person who was shot and killed in front of their wife and children.
Let me ask you a question. If Joe Biden took down a prominent right-wing personality on TV for what he or she said, would you endorse that?
You're hypothetical if the Biden administration went and jawboned, let's say, social media platforms.
I'm talking about a similar allegory of someone on TV right now.
Hundreds of conservatives.
Will you answer my question?
No, that is literally what the administration that you served did. Google just released
A broadcast
all of
TV
the
host
components.
taken down for words that they say or
When
intimidated
was
on,
that?
I will not
Oh,
approve
in the
your merger
history of
as
the
a result.
FCC, they have done that plenty of times on the right.
Was the
There's a
FCC
reason
chair saying we're
why.
going to do this the easy way or the hard way like a mobster?
Your
Were they?
administration
Were they?
deplatformed and kicked off of social media. You want to talk about actually silencing? Having any single public outlet that you have unallowed to broadcast something, right? Jimmy Kimmel could go on MSNBC tomorrow. He's going back on ABC tonight. This man has not been silenced. Charlie Kirk's been silenced because he's dead. A lot of conservatives were silenced on social media platforms because the government threatened those social media companies. Facebook, Google, Twitter. You can go down all the list. YouTube, again, just acknowledged to Congress today that they did that at the behest of the Biden administration.
That's right. And that left-wing analyst was left speechless. Unbelievable. Imagine if Biden had done something like this. I'm sorry, did you not live through the pandemic? Have you not read the Twitter files? Do you not know that the FBI took people, deplatformed them, deleted their accounts, suspended them from social media and YouTube and other video platforms everywhere? They demonetized social media platforms that didn't march in line with what the FBI did. They debanked people left and right. I'm sorry, did you not know that thousands of people lost their jobs because they refused to get an untried and untested shot that Biden forced them to take? The churches were closed down. The people couldn't go worship or praise their Lord under Joe Biden. I'm sorry. Oh, you're right. A late night host lost his job. Meanwhile, millions of just ordinary folk couldn't say a damn thing anywhere. But God forbid the $1 million late night host. That's an existential